They built a town out of hope, but in the Deep South, hope was a dangerous thing. In the heart of the Mississippi Delta, Mound Bayou stood as a beacon of hope and resilience. Founded by formerly enslaved people, the town was more than just a collection of buildings. It was a living testament to Black self-determination and the dream of freedom. Its dusty main street, lined with proud storefronts and bustling with life, told a story of ambition and unity. Every day, Black-owned businesses thrived, from grocery stores to barbershops, and farmers loaded their wagons with the fruits of their labor. The people of Mound Bayou worked together, supporting one another and building a community where Black excellence could flourish, even in the face of adversity. Their determination was visible in every handshake, every market stall, and every child's laughter echoing down the street. Children ran past the church, their futures bright with possibility. The church itself was more than a place of worship. It was a gathering place, a school, and a sanctuary from the world outside. Here, families found strength, and the next generation learned the values of hard work, faith, and community. But beyond the town's borders, the world was changing. Newspaper headlines screamed of racial tension and violence sweeping across the South. Mound Bayou's success was both a source of pride and a target for those who feared Black progress. By the early 1900s, Mound Bayou wasn't just a town. It was a symbol. It represented the possibility of a different future, one where Black Americans could govern themselves, own land, and prosper on their own terms. A thriving Black community with its own bank, its own schools, and a sense of pride that terrified white supremacists. The town's prosperity was a direct challenge to the racist status quo, and its very existence was an act of defiance. As Mound Bayou flourished, so did the threats against it. Flyers from hate groups appeared overnight, warning of violence and intimidation. The message was clear: this town and what it stood for would not be tolerated by those in power. Whispers started, in coffee shops, in fields, in state offices. Rumors and suspicions spread like wildfire, carried on the lips of those who resented Mound Bayou's independence. In the shadows, plans were made to undermine the town's success, whispers that turned to threats, and threats turned into something far darker. The people of Mound Bayou braced themselves, knowing that their courage and unity would soon be tested as never before. The Ku Klux Klan saw Mound Bayou as a challenge, a living, breathing testament to Black resilience and self-determination. To them, the town was a threat, a symbol that defied the order they wanted to impose. So one night, they came with torches, their faces hidden beneath white hoods, intent on making an example of Mound Bayou. The air was thick with menace, the flicker of flames casting long, ominous shadows across the fields and homes. As word spread through the town, families moved quickly. Children were ushered indoors, mothers shuttered windows, and elders gathered in quiet prayer. But there was no panic. Instead, there was a steely resolve. Men and women met in the church, quietly loading rifles, sharing determined glances. They knew what was at stake. This wasn't just their home, it was a beacon for Black people everywhere. Proof that self-governance and dignity could flourish even in the heart of Mississippi. The people of Mound Bayou didn't cower. They prepared. They stood shoulder to shoulder, united by a common purpose. This was more than a town. It was a dream made real, and they would not surrender it to fear or hatred. Every man, woman, and child understood the weight of the moment. They were defending not just their homes, but the very idea that Black communities could thrive on their own terms. On that tense night, the dusty streets of Mound Bayou became a front line. Isaiah Montgomery, the town's founder and guiding force, stood at the center, calm, steady, and unflinching. He was joined by farmers, teachers, shopkeepers, and laborers, all armed and ready to defend what they had built together. Their faces were set with determination, their bodies tense but unyielding. The silence was heavy, broken only by the distant crackle of torches and the steady, reassuring words of Montgomery. As the Klan approached, their numbers swelling in the darkness, the people of Mound Bayou stood their ground. The sight was unexpected. A whole town, united and unafraid, ready to fight for every brick and beam. The Klan had come to intimidate, but instead they found a community that refused to bow. The courage of Mound Bayou's defenders turned fear back on the men who brought it. The Klan, so used to instilling terror, found themselves hesitating. Some exchanged nervous glances, their bravado faltering as they realized the townspeople would not be easy victims. The torches that once symbolized power now flickered with uncertainty. For the first time, the Klan felt the weight of resistance, the power of a community united in defiance. For a long moment, the two sides faced each other, the tension almost unbearable. But the resolve in the eyes of Mound Bayou's defenders was unmistakable. They would not be moved. The Klan, sensing the shift, began to falter. When dawn finally broke, Mound Bayou still stood, unbroken, unbowed. The people had faced down hatred and refused to yield. Their courage sent a message far beyond their borders, that unity, dignity, and self-determination could withstand even the darkest threats. In the light of morning, the town was more than a place. It was a promise kept, a legacy of resistance, and a beacon for generations to come. As the first light of dawn crept over Mound Bayou, the town stood silent but unbroken. The air was thick with the memory of the night before, a night when fear threatened to take root, but hope proved stronger. The people of Mound Bayou had gathered together, united by a common purpose, to protect their home, their families, and the dream their ancestors had built from nothing. The torches left behind in the dirt were more than just remnants of a failed attack. They were symbols of resistance. Each one marked a moment when the townspeople refused to be intimidated, when they chose to stand their ground rather than flee. As the threat faded, neighbors lowered their weapons, exchanging glances that spoke of relief, pride, and a shared understanding that their unity had made the difference. Mound Bayou didn't burn that night. The Klan left humiliated, their fire snuffed out by courage. The determined faces of the town's residents told a story of defiance, a refusal to bow to hatred or violence. Their bravery echoed through the streets, a silent promise that they would not be broken. But the threats never vanished. They lingered like smoke. Every sunrise brought new challenges, and every nightfall reminded the people to remain vigilant. The horizon was always watched, not out of fear, but out of a steadfast commitment to protect what was theirs. And still, the town endured. Leaders like Isaiah Montgomery stood as pillars of strength, inspiring others to hold fast to their vision of a free and thriving community. This was more than one night. This was a warning to those who thought freedom could be taken back, a declaration that Mound Bayou would not surrender its hard-won liberty, and a beacon to those who believed in building something better. Mound Bayou's story became a light for others, showing that with unity, courage, and hope, even the darkest nights can give way to a brighter dawn. Mound Bayou had survived the flames, the mobs, and the worst hatred the South could throw. The town stood, proud, scarred, but unbroken. It was proof that Black hands could build, defend, and thrive against all odds. But survival wasn't the end of the story, because not all attacks come with torches and rope. Some creep in quietly, through laws, land grabs, and the lure of opportunities far away. In Part 3, we uncover those quiet battles, the ones that dimmed Mound Bayou's brightest lights, and why its legacy still burns for those willing to look. The fight to remember begins next.